Luna Wang, have you no shame? How dare you peep at a man bathing? When I opened my eyes, I saw Jong Yanjing's face, flushed with both embarrassment and anger. His well-proportioned muscles were still glistening with water droplets. He had hastily thrown on a sleeveless undershirt, but it was still damp and clung to him, making him look particularly alluring. He stood in the makeshift bathing stall I had specially partitioned for him with cement and thatch, his gaze full of accusation as he looked at me. I know I have been reborn. Right at the moment when Jong Yangjing came to my home to settle down during the previous life, I find it a bit hard to believe, but I feel more nervous and excited. After being entangled with Jong Yangjing for most of my life, I finally have a chance to break free from him. This time, I will definitely not shamelessly chase after him, giving him repeated opportunities to trample on my self-respect. But right now, Jong Yangjing saw me still standing in place, trembling with anger. I thought you were being so kind, knowing I'm not used to bathing in the river, and even built a small bathing area for me at home. Turns out it was just to make it easier for you to peep. Do you have no sense of propriety or shame? I laughed. If it were me from my past life, hearing such words would have made me extremely upset, but now it's completely different. I admit that I was momentarily blinded by lust and did something disgraceful. However, it was truly out of sincerity that I set up a separate bathroom at home for his convenience in bathing. I never expected that he would interpret my actions with the worst possible intentions, but it doesn't matter. He's settled in my neighborhood, so we're bound to cross paths in the future. Forcing him to take a stance now is actually good. Only by doing so can we cut through the mess quickly. Luna Wang, are you mute? Let me tell you, I will never take a shower at home again. Don't even think about peeking again. Suit yourself. Perhaps he didn't expect me to dismiss him so lightly with just 3 words, and he was clearly taken aback. And also, is there really no chance you could ever like me? Perhaps he didn't expect that, after I had done something wrong, I would dare to ask such a bold question. His entire face turned as red as a tomato, because he was both anxious and angry. Beads of sweat even began to form on his forehead. I have a girl I like. There's absolutely no way I could fall for you. Alright, then let's just be ordinary comrades from now on. He seemed surprised that I agreed so calmly and wanted to say something more, but I didn't give him the chance and left directly. Coming out of the shower, I saw my childhood home in the rural countryside of Guiyang. The house was built with cement and thatch, and the door was painstakingly tamped together with cow dung. Even before being reborn, I had only lived in a third-tier city in Guizhou, but at first glance, my childhood home still seemed incredibly shabby and run down. How could I, living in such a dilapidated house and harsh environment, have had the nerve to fall for Jong Yangjing, who came from the city? As I looked at my reflection in the water vat, my skin flushed with red veins but still glowing with youth, I sighed at the whims of fate while resolving to make the most of this second chance. At that very moment, Jong Yangjing came out. He had the delicate and fair appearance of his youth, with a tall and slender figure and well-proportioned muscles, giving off a somewhat scholarly air. He was an educated youth sent to the countryside in Guiyang for re-education, and he was from Shanghai. There were many educated youths sent down to our production brigade, but none were as good-looking as he was. He glanced at me with a look full of disgust, then went to fetch water without saying a word. What's wrong with this child? Spacing out like that? Aren't you going to help your brother Yangjing? Mom came out from behind the cloth curtain in the kitchen. She knew I had feelings for Jong Yangjing and was happy to help bring us together, given a second chance at life. I could only gaze at my long unseen mother with tears welling up in my eyes, my heart too overwhelmed to dwell on anything else. Mom, I threw myself into my mother's embrace, unable to hold back my tears any longer. In my previous life, my mother passed away from illness, and I made 40 or 50 calls to Jong Yangjing, urging him to return for the funeral. Luna, can't you be more understanding? Mengya's daughter is about to take her high school entrance exams, and I need to be there to support her. Even if I went to see your mom, would it bring her back to life? After saying that, he hung up the phone, leaving behind only his cold-hearted accusations and the 10,000 yuan he threw my way as if it were charity. At that moment, all the strength drained from my body. and I could only curl up in the corner and cry. But what good is crying? At that time, I had still lost my mother, the only family I had in this world. Looking at my mother, who still had warmth and a heartbeat, with no trace of illness in her brows and eyes, I swore never to let such a man become her son-in-law again. Mom didn't understand why I was crying so bitterly, thinking only that I had been bullied by someone. I just shook my head. Mom, I just missed you especially today. I stopped my tears and told her seriously, Mom, I don't like Jong Yangjing anymore. I just want to work hard and study well so I can find a good job in the future. Just then, Jiying, my good sister from my previous life, came to find me. Sister Luna, there's a movie showing at the village square tonight. Let's go watch it together. Luna had 2 small braids and was wearing a pair of army green pants, looking especially lively and spirited. In my previous life, because of Jong Yangjing, she and I became bitter enemies. I still remember the look of disappointment she gave me before she went out to work, as if she was frustrated with my lack of ambition. Sister Luna, there are opportunities everywhere in Shenzhen now. You should go out and explore more, instead of staying here waiting for Jong Yangjing to come back. He's always thinking about that by Mengya, and I'm afraid he might change his heart, because I trusted my husband too much. I declined my best friend's well-intentioned advice. But later, Jong Yangjing indeed cheated with Bai Mengya, turning me into a laughingstock. Everyone said I wasn't good enough for Jong Yangjing. Everyone said I was a burden to him. But during the time he was sent down to my village, if it weren't for my careful care, he would have long been plagued by various illnesses. How could there have been any possibility of him reconciling with Bai Mengya later? I looked at my good friend Jiying in front of me, my thoughts swirling endlessly. Jiying, noticing my prolonged silence, thought I was still thinking about Jong Yangjing, so she quietly whispered to me, "Since you like Comrade Jong, isn't this the perfect opportunity to ask him to watch a movie? I can lend you my red dress. I guarantee he'll be mesmerized as if he's seen a heavenly beauty." I shook my head and said, "Forget it, Jiying, I've thought it over, and Comrade Jong and I aren't really a good match. Let's not bother him. After you finish your meal at my place, let's go together." I still remember in my past life, when I was going to the movies, I nervously and excitedly borrowed Jiying's red dress to wear. I fully expected Jong Yangjing to see it and be flustered, to notice my beauty, but who would have thought he just frowned and said, "Your skin is so dark. Wearing such a bright red dress makes you look too rustic." I was both angry and embarrassed at the time. And I didn't even finish watching the movie before I ran off crying. This time, I won't humiliate myself and just want to quietly watch this open-air movie with Comrade Ying. 3. Jong Yangjing found it very strange. If it were any other time, when Luna Wang saw him coming out alone to fetch water, she would definitely have run over to help. After all, he was a city person who didn't do much manual labor. Luna Wang felt sorry for him and would basically take on the heavier part of the work. He knew what Luna Wang was up to, and although he felt disdainful in his heart, he couldn't bring himself to make things too awkward given how much she cared for and looked after him. Mengya had always been in his heart. In his view, only a modern city woman like Mengya could be his future wife. As for Luna Wang, she simply wasn't presentable enough. Although Luna Wang had just had a quarrel with him and he had said he would never like her, based on his understanding of Luna Wang, she would never truly be willing to distance herself from him. At most, in half an hour, Luna Wang would come looking for him eagerly. When that time comes, he could be a bit more generous and let Luna Wang carry the water home. He thought to himself and waited by the river for nearly another half hour, but not even a shadow of Luna Wang was to be seen. "Oh, Comrade Jong, are you waiting for Luna to fetch water together?" A familiar auntie came to the river to wash clothes and asked teasingly, but it was this very question that seemed to hit Jong Yangjing's weak spot. It made his face flush bright red. He couldn't help but despise himself inwardly. What exactly was he waiting for? Could it be that I have to leave that country girl behind, and I can't even carry water back by myself? No, auntie, I was silently reciting my lessons in my mind, planning to finish reciting before carrying the water back, although this was an excuse. Jong Yangjing truly thought so in his heart. He felt that he was definitely going to attend university, And only by going to university could he leave this wretched place sooner, not long ago. Someone in the village committee had already hinted that the college entrance examination was going to be reinstated. As long as he could take the college entrance examination, he believed he was bound to rise to fame and fortune. However, he underestimated the difficulty of carrying water. The load felt heavy on his shoulders, making it hard to even walk steadily. The path was covered with gravel, and he stumbled along unsteadily, nearly tipping over the water buckets. By the time he finally managed to carry the water back, he found that the family had already started their meal. Luna Wang was sitting closely with her friend who had a feather duster-like hairstyle, eating together without even looking up. He sensed that something was wrong, but he was a proud man and would never take the initiative to ask. Fortunately, Aunt Wang had set aside his meal separately, a large bowl of glutinous rice with pickled vegetables. He was from Shanghai and had never been able to get used to the local food culture in Guizhou. In the past, Luna Wang had tried to please him by learning to cook some Shanghainese dishes, so he had hardly ever been deprived in terms of food. But now, it seems something has changed. Just as he was lost in thought, he suddenly realized that the letter he had placed on the small table was gone. It was sent to him by Mengya. It must have been taken by Luna Wang. For Luna Wang. How can you be so despicable, taking someone else's letters without permission? I was having a meal with Jiying and had no idea what he was getting so worked up about. I didn't take your letter. You didn't. Then how come my letter is missing? You must have secretly taken it and hidden it away. You can't even read, yet you hoard my letter. What a venomous heart you have. He was completely furious, pointing at my nose and cursing me out. I sneered. Exactly, I can't even read. Why would I steal your letter? Can you think before you speak? If this had happened in my previous life, I would have jumped 3 feet high from such insulting misunderstandings. But now, I still sat at the dining table, refuting him in a soft voice. He seemed to rarely see someone like me, so he froze. Actually, I am literate now. In my previous life, after becoming financially stable, I took the adult college entrance exam in order to be worthy of Jong Yangjing. I have a cultural level equivalent to that of a high school graduate, but because I was reborn, none of them knew. Jiying was frightened by his expression and quickly tugged at my sleeve, asking, "Sister Luna, did you really take his letter?" I shook my head. I had no idea he had sent a letter. Seeing that I wouldn't admit it, Jong Yangjing grew even angrier. All right, just don't let me find anything. He wants to search my room. How could I let him have his way, Comrade Jong? I blocked the doorway. What gives you the right to enter a young woman's room as you please? Seeing me react this way, Jong Yangjing became even more convinced that I had hidden the letter. It must be in your room. It must be in your room. Just then, Mom came out from the kitchen carrying the last dish of pickled vegetables. Why aren't you all sitting down to eat? Jong Yangjing glanced at my mom and said, "My letter is missing." My mom pointed toward his room while clapping her hands. "I knew that letter was yours. I put it in your room." As soon as these words were spoken, the entire main hall fell into silence. Jong Yangjing, who had been so arrogant just moments before, now had a face that turned from black to white. Jiying couldn't stand it any longer. "Comrade Jong, you've misunderstood Sister Luna. Shouldn't you apologize?" But at that moment, I didn't even want to waste words on him. "It's not necessary. Let's finish eating quickly and go watch the movie." I don't know what Jong Yangjing was thinking, but he kept hesitating to speak throughout the meal. I pretended not to see and only spoke to Jiying. After finishing the meal, I asked Jiying to wait a moment, then I parted and smoothed my hair, braiding it into a side fishtail braid that I had learned online in my previous life. Paired with a simple and elegant shirt and pants, I looked much less rustic overall. When Jiying saw my outfit, she was clearly taken aback for a moment. "Sister Luna, how did you braid your hair? It looks absolutely stunning." Then she spun me around in a circle, saying, "If you go out looking like this, the young men in the village will definitely be stealing glances at you." I chuckled and decided to take her to the convenience store first to buy some snacks. Jong Yangjing, who had been silent the whole time, suddenly stood up. He glanced at me with apparent nonchalance. "It's barely passable, so I'll make some time to go with you." My mind was filled with countless question marks. What did I just say that gave him the illusion that I was inviting him? I slightly twitched the corner of my mouth and smiled. Comrade Jong, I made plans with Jing today. If you'd like to join, you can go find Dajwang and the others. We'll be heading off first. After saying that, I didn't pay him any more attention and directly pulled Jing along to the Supply and Marketing Cooperative's small shop. 4. The shopkeeper of the Supply and Marketing Cooperative was a beauty-loving older sister who absolutely adored my hair. Luna, how did you braid your hair like that? Teach me, please. I spotted her pile of high school textbooks and materials stacked in the corner at a glance, so I went ahead and braided her hair. She looked at herself in the mirror from side to side. It looks really nice. I smiled and told her, I know so many different ways to braid hair. Then, I took it apart and styled it into a fluffy flower bud bun for her. She was overjoyed. Feel free to grab any snacks you want, just put it on my tab. I stopped Jing's outstretched hand and pointed at the stack of textbooks piled in the corner. Will your younger brother still be using those books? The elder sister's face immediately fell. Stop talking about it. My brother simply refuses to read, and it's a shame to just throw them away. Then could you lend them to me? I'll teach you a few pretty hairstyles for free in return. I tentatively asked her, who would have thought she would be so delighted. Quickly gathering that pile of books and placing them on the counter. No need to borrow them. I'll give them all to you. I have no use for them anyway. I thanked her profusely several times. And we eventually agreed that I would pick them up after watching the movie. Then, I casually bought some melon seeds and snacks and pulled Jing away. Jing was clearly puzzled. Sister Luna, what do you want those old books for? I sighed inwardly. Those are not old books. In my previous life, I suffered a lot from my lack of education. Later, when I had some spare money, I took the adult college entrance exam and learned a great deal. If I can get into university this time. It feels like a fire is burning inside my heart. If I can get into university, then I can change the fate of my previous life. I secretly made a clearer plan in my heart. By the time Jing and I arrived at the eastern end of the village, a crowd had already gathered. We chose a perfect spot and prepared to sit down to watch the movie, but suddenly, a large dark figure darted in front of us, startling both Jing and me. Luna, these are some boiled salted peanuts our family made. Have them while you watch the movie. I looked up from the oil paper wrapped peanuts and realized this large dark figure was the son of the village party secretary, Troy Chen. Brother Chen had a sturdy build of muscles and stood at an impressive height of 1.8 meters, which was quite rare in the rural areas of Guiyang. However, because he always wore a stern expression on his face and looked rather intimidating, few people dared to approach him. Even Jing, upon seeing him, felt a bit frightened and hid behind me. Brother Chen thought I was afraid of him because I didn't take the peanut oil package. His tone became flustered. Luna, don't be afraid. I mean no harm. Thank you, Brother Chen. I took the oil packet and interrupted him. He probably didn't expect me to take that bag of peanuts directly from his hand, and his entire face turned red. Luna, no need to thank me. You should eat more. After saying that, he ran off. His retreating figure seeming somewhat flustered, Jing finally dared to speak. Sister Luna, when did Brother Chen become so close to you? He looks quite intimidating. 5. I couldn't help but think of my previous life. Actually, in my previous life at this time, Brother Chen was also very good to me, but I was solely focused on Zhong Yangjing and kept some distance from him. Later, Troy Chen enlisted in the military and became a soldier. When my mother passed away, he specifically took time off to come back and see her. At that time, he was already a regimental level officer, standing tall and straight, his entire being as tough and taut as tempered steel. Luna, don't be sad, take this money for now. He gave me a card and didn't say anything else. But compared to my cold and indifferent husband, this fellow villager, with whom I had only a slight connection during my girlhood, was enough to bring tears to my eyes. At the moment, I haven't thought much about anything else, but while we're both still in the village, it's only right to show him a little more care and concern. So I smiled and said to Jing, Brother Chen is a good man, stern on the outside but warm-hearted, and an honest, straightforward fellow. After I finished speaking, I felt a chill down my back, as if someone was watching me. I turned around and saw that it was Jong Yangjing. "Ah, Luna, it's Comrade Jong," Jiying whispered in my ear. I had no idea when he had arrived or how much he had overheard, but I no longer care. But I never expected Jong Yangjing to actually walk up to me. He gave a sinister smile. "I was wondering why you suddenly changed your ways. So it turns out you've taken a liking to that Chen guy." I shot him an annoyed glare and was about to deny it, but then I suddenly had a change of thought. If I admit it, wouldn't that make it easier to avoid him and prevent any future entanglements? Yeah. "I think Brother Chen is quite good, much better than you." I don't know which nerve my words struck, but he actually got angry again. "He's better than me. Aside from being bigger than me, in what way is he better?" I stood up with my hands on my hips. "What? Are you jealous because I've fallen for someone else? Don't tell me you're—" Jong Yangjing sensed that I was about to say something outrageous. "No, that's not it. I'd be thrilled if you liked someone else. That way no one would bother me anymore." After saying that, he glanced at me again. "Luna Wang, you'd better mean what you say." I certainly meant what I said. I watched the entire movie without saying another word to him, not even sparing him a glance. This situation continued until the next day when we went to work in the fields. Jong Yangjing came to our village to settle and work. Unlike those who entered state-owned units and received monthly subsidies, he had to earn work points on his own. Therefore, he had to carry manure, haul ashes, dig coal, and plough the fields. But in the past, I felt sorry for him, so besides doing my own work, I would also help share his load. But now I won't do that anymore. 6. Comrade Jong, your pace isn't good enough. You won't finish even if you work until dark. The people around glanced at Jong Yangjing's work progress and urged him kindly. He glanced in my direction, perhaps hoping I would step forward to help him. But how could that be? I just pretended not to see, so he had no choice but to grit his teeth and do it himself. Finally, he was the only one in the entire team who didn't complete the task. "Comrade Jong, you still need to work harder." Jong Yangjing had never been spoken to like that before and immediately felt a bit upset. This feeling of unhappiness grew even stronger when he saw the glutinous rice and pickled vegetables at home. "What's wrong, Yangjing? Is the food not to your taste?" My mother still cares a lot about this young man from the city, but how could Jong Yangjing bring himself to say it? Naturally, I wouldn't take the initiative to cook something special for him either. We are all human beings, so who is truly nobler than whom? My current focus is entirely on studying, working, and skincare. Yes, skincare. After my past life experiences, I've come to realize that one's face is their second calling card. It's the same principle as judging a person by their appearance before their character. A person's skin color, appearance, and temperament largely influence how others treat them. This applies to both men and women. Wasn't it precisely because Jong Yangjing had a handsome face that I became infatuated in my past life and ended up making so many mistakes? So I need to study hard and take good care of my skin. At night, I would sit under the kerosene lamp in the room, reading the high school textbooks I had borrowed from the sister at the supply and marketing cooperative. During the day while working, I would also pay extra attention to sun protection. Since I didn't have sunscreen, I would try to wrap my entire face as tightly as possible. When I get home, I also use the leftover rice water to wash my face. If I have the chance to go into the mountains, I also pick more small tomatoes and other fruits that can whiten the skin. Sister Luna, why do you feel like you've become a lot prettier? During this time, I seem to have unintentionally become the trendsetter in the village. Everyone would occasionally learn how to braid hair from me and also imitate my clothing style. I used the water surface as a mirror and carefully examined myself. Just then, Brother Chen arrived and said, "Luna, I bought this hair accessory for you. Here you go." In those days, hair accessories for girls were rare items, all brought from the city, and they were quite expensive, so I quickly declined. "Luna, just take it, this is specially for you." As soon as Troy Chen saw my face, he became embarrassed, his neck and even the roots of his ears turning red. After saying that, he stuffed the item into my hand and ran off. Jong Yangjing, who was standing nearby, saw this and his face turned as dark as the bottom of a pot. "You really are fickle. it hasn't been long, and you've already fallen for someone else." His words seemed to be squeezed out from between his teeth, but I deliberately wanted to provoke him. "You said yourself that you could never like me. Should I still cling to you?" After saying that, I glanced at him covered in mud and went straight into the house. Jong Yangjing is a person who values his reputation. Since he said he wouldn't bathe at home, he had no choice but to wash in the river outside, but like everyone else in the village, he wasn't used to being naked and seeing each other that way, so he always went quietly in the middle of the night. But this meant that after he came back from the fields, he would have to eat and study while carrying the stench of sweat all over him. I fanned my nose and automatically moved to sit a bit farther away from him, seeing my repulsed reaction. He was both ashamed and angry, to the point where he could barely hold his chopstick steady. 7. Yet, when he saw the exquisitely crafted hair accessory by my hand, he still seemed to have something he wanted to say but hesitated. In the evening, I was reviewing my lessons under the kerosene lamp, and he sneered when he saw it. "You're not thinking of going to college, are you? You won't make it." I ignored him and continued studying. He coughed softly and said, "I happen to be writing a letter to Shanghai soon. There are many fashionable hair accessories there. If you really want some, I could reluctantly ask a friend to send a few over." "No need, I don't have the fortune to wear such fine things. Please don't trouble yourself." He fully expected that I would be overjoyed when he offered to bring me something from the big city, but he never expected that I would flatly refuse him, so he became angry again. "You're right. Those modern things don't suit you anyway. It's good that you know your limits. At this moment, I just want to focus on reading more books and have no intention of paying him any attention." So I directly slammed the door right in his face, since I no longer had to share his workload. I had much more time to devote to my studies. He truly experienced the hardships of being sent down for labor. Due to the tight schedule and heavy workload, he finally fell ill while working. The village chief had someone carry him to the town clinic, but he absolutely refused to go. He was still gritting his teeth and putting on a brave face, insisting that minor injuries shouldn't take him off the front lines. People around me came to say, "Comrade Jong is staying at your place. Why don't you persuade him to go to the town clinic and get some medicine?" I agreed on the surface, but my mind was focused on something more important. The college entrance exam had been reinstated. I was well aware of my family's situation. Although my mother loves me dearly, she simply doesn't have extra money to send me to college in another city. Therefore, if I want to go to college, I need to earn more money myself. Right now happens to be the season when termitomyces mushrooms grow. If I can dig up more mushrooms to sell in town, I should be able to save up more funds. So I used my time outside of farm work to go into the mountains and dug up quite a few mushrooms. I didn't even go home. Planning to head to town immediately, there was only one road connecting the village to the town, so all the neighbors saw me. "Luna, are you going to town to get medicine for Comrade Jong?" I didn't say anything, just smiled and walked away. Later, the news somehow reached Jong Yangjing's ears, and he visibly relaxed. He knew it all along. Luna Wang still liked him. Perhaps it was because his previous attitude had been too hurtful, which was why Luna was upset with him. Given the current situation, it seemed impossible for him to return to Shanghai anytime soon. Why not just marry Luna? That way, I could have some help during my daily labor. As for Mengya, I suppose I've let her down, but these days of exile are truly unbearable. He needs someone who understands and cares for him. He silently mulled over these thoughts and soon fell asleep. 8. After selling all the mushrooms, I made a lot of money. As long as I can successfully get into university, I'll be able to leave this place and go to a broader world. Just thinking about these things makes my heart beat with excitement, but just as I finished packing up and was about to go work, Jong Yangjing actually frowned and reached out his hand to me. "What? I'm completely in the dark. Didn't you go to get the medicine for me? Where is it?" I twitched the corner of my mouth, thinking this person is really narcissistic. "Who said I went to get medicine for you? You're overthinking it." After saying that, I left. He followed me relentlessly from behind. "You're lying. If you weren't getting medicine for me, then what were you doing in town? I figured it out. You just want me to give in to you." I couldn't stand his narcissism and arrogance any longer, so I turned around and shouted at him, Why should I get medicine for you? Are you my man? Hearing this, he actually laughed and said, I knew it. You're playing hard to get. I slapped him directly. If your brain doesn't work well, don't come out and embarrass yourself. I don't like you. I like Brother Chen. But I didn't expect Brother Chen to be watching from ahead. Luna, my heart panicked, and I quickly ran away in a flash. Day by day passed, and I signed up for the college entrance exam. Among the villagers, some were optimistic, some were pessimistic, but most of them encouraged me. On the day of the actual exam, Jong Yangjing and I each took an egg and a rice cake from our mothers. Study hard and strive for good results. The questions were not difficult, and I finished them quickly. When estimating scores and filling out college applications, Jong Yangjing chose universities in Shanghai. He glanced at me and said, if you don't get into a university, it would still be better to go to Shanghai for a technical school. The development opportunities in a big city are incomparable to those in a small place. I ignored him and instead applied to Sun Yat-sen University in Guangdong. He smiled even more disdainfully. You, wanting to get into Sun Yat-sen University? I'm not trying to be harsh, Luna, but you barely know how to read a few characters, and you're aiming for Sun Yat-sen University. To be honest, I'm afraid you might not even get into a vocational school. Wouldn't you be even happier if I didn't get in? That way you could get rid of me forever. To be honest, I think he's been acting a bit strange lately, either his sneaking glances at me, or his constantly chattering in my ear. It feels like he didn't even talk this much in his past life, and now, I get annoyed just by the sight of him. Indeed, one can only become enlightened after seeing through certain things. Outward appearance cannot determine a person's true character. In my view, Jong Yangjing is someone completely steeped in petty bourgeois mentality, always scheming and deeply calculating. I am now only hoping to receive my admission notice as soon as possible, learn more knowledge and culture so that I can contribute to the construction of our country in the future. Jong Yangjing was provoked by my reaction and immediately wrote a letter to Bai Mengya, saying that as long as he passed the exam to return to Shanghai, he would consider getting married. Luna Wang, you must come to Mengya and my wedding when the time comes. We will give out wedding candies, all of which are foreign candies that you have never tasted before. He thought saying such things would upset me, thinking I would be jealous, would be hurt. All right, send me an invitation when the time comes. I just politely replied to him and didn't say anything else after that. Go ahead and marry Mengya if you want. Anyway, in this lifetime, there's absolutely no chance of anything happening between him and me. 9. On the day we were waiting for the admission notice, almost the entire village paused their work. They spontaneously stood on both sides of the road, waiting for the postman to arrive. I was very nervous inside. Could something go wrong? Could I have failed the exam? I could barely stand, crouching on the ground as I looked ahead. Jong Yangjing saw how nervous I was and added fuel to the fire. Luna Wang, it's okay if you don't get in. University isn't easy to get into. If you come to terms with it, I will definitely get in. I immediately stood up and looked at him with neither humility nor arrogance. The postman has arrived. Someone from your village has been admitted to university. Someone has been admitted to university. The postman was also very excited, shouting from a long distance away. The whole village was in an uproar. Our village has a college student. Our village has a college student. The mailman stopped at our doorstep and took out an admission letter. Only one. The post office worker nodded. The atmosphere instantly became awkward. There's only one acceptance letter. It must be for Comrade Jong. Of course. Luna barely knows how to read. How could she possibly get into university? Jong Yangjing indeed became spirited. He first bowed to the villagers, then looked at me with an air of arrogance. Luna Wang, I told you, getting into university isn't that easy. Now you've made a fool of yourself, haven't you? As he spoke, he walked toward the postman. I know you wanted to get into university, so I would think highly of you, but this admission letter belongs to Comrade Luna Wang. The postman looked at the information on it and cut off Jong Yangjing's words. What did you say? Impossible. You must have made a mistake. Jong Yangjing's face turned deathly pale, and his whole body began to sway unsteadily. He seemed to have lost his mind and started rummaging through the postman's mailbag. Comrade, calm down. Please calm down. The admission notices are filled out strictly according to the candidate's information. There's absolutely no mistake. The surrounding villagers who were watching were all shocked. What? Luna got admitted, but Comrade Jong didn't. This is really big news, of course, compared to Jong Yangjing, a city dweller who settled here through the rustication movement. It's naturally more worth celebrating when a local like me gets into university. The village chief and the party secretary both came up to me. Luna, hurry up and open the package to take a look. So everyone crowded around me in layers, pushing Jong Yangjing aside. He just stood there in a daze, letting people jostle and bump into him. I had no mind to pay attention to him. Instead, I opened the package under everyone's gaze. Sure enough, it was the admission letter from Sun Yat-sen University. Ah, our village has produced a university student. The crowd erupted with a roar of excitement. I announced that there will be no work tomorrow. Everyone will gather in the village courtyard for a flowing banquet to celebrate Luna's acceptance into university. The village will cover the cost of the feast. With the village party secretary's announcement, everyone became overjoyed, but Jong Yangjing was nowhere to be seen. Where is Comrade Jong? Oh no. Could it be that he's taken it too hard? Quickly, have some male comrades go look for him. 10. When the crowd dispersed in the evening, Brother Chen quietly came to see me. He didn't say anything, just left a red cloth bundle. Brother Chen, this isn't appropriate. I opened the cloth bag and took a look. It was full of money. It's perfectly appropriate. This is all the money I've saved up over time. You'll need a lot of expenses when you go to college. Brother Chen's appearance overlapped with that of my past life. As I looked at him, I felt my eyes growing warm. It's been 2 lifetimes, and he's still so good, still lending a hand when I need it most. But Brother Chen, if you give it to me, what will you do? Brother Chen smiled. I've already enlisted, in the army. We eat from the same pot, so there aren't many places to spend money. After saying that, he was about to leave. Brother Chen, I called out to him. Do you want to be in a relationship? Brother Chen, who stands at a tall 6 feet, actually got shy. I looked at his unimpressive demeanor and laughed. I knew that once I got to school, I would meet all kinds of men. They might be more outstanding than Brother Chen, or come from better family backgrounds. But the man who would lower his head to slip a red envelope into my hand after my college entrance exams. The man who would take time off work to come back and see me after my mother passed away. There is only Brother Chen. Staying away from the wrong one doesn't mean I should give up eating for fear of choking. There's still a long road ahead in life, and I still have the chance to embrace happiness. Before school started, both families held an engagement banquet in the village. Everyone's faces were beaming with smiles, except for Jong Yangjing. He was dead drunk, but because everyone knew he was upset, no one stopped him. When the banquet was over and I was packing my luggage under the kerosene lamp, Jong Yangjing called out to me, Luna. I turned back to look at him. He reeked of alcohol all over. I'm going back to Shanghai soon. Mengya's father helped with it, but the condition is that I marry into their family. This is something that did not happen in my previous life. In his previous life, because he married me, he went directly to the town to teach and make a living, and did not participate in the college entrance examination. Because of this, he always felt that I had hindered his future. But the facts prove that even if he had taken the exam, he wouldn't have passed. It has nothing to do with whether he's with me or not, but he will never understand this truth. I pulled myself together and smiled at him. That's great. Haven't you always liked her? Jong Yangjing showed the same reluctant expression as in his previous life. You don't understand. How could I not understand? His pride is greater than the heavens, so naturally he finds it humiliating to marry into his wife's family. How could everything in the world go exactly as one wishes? I suddenly had a feeling that even if he ended up with Mengya in this lifetime, he wouldn't be happy, because he is not someone who knows how to be content and find joy. 11. That was the last conversation between us. After that, we went our separate ways, each heading toward our own futures. I heard news of him again when I moved to Shanghai for work with my husband. Because of my high level of education and relevant professional background, the organization arranged for me to become a teacher in the Chinese department of a university. That day, My senior colleague called me and said that overseas patriots had purchased a collection of rare ancient books, through the coordination of relevant departments. These books were to be displayed and studied at our university's Ancient Texts Research Institute. The person who came to coordinate with us turned out to be one of the Shanghai-educated youth who had been sent down to the countryside with Jong Yangjing back in the day. After finishing work, I invited him to dinner. My husband, Troy Chen, happened to be on vacation, so he joined us. You all are doing well, working in positions that bring honor to the country. At that time, this educated youth friend had already ventured into business, and during the dinner conversation, he brought up an old friend from back in the day. Do you all remember Jong Yangjing? I heard his father-in-law's family is very strict and wouldn't allow him to go into business, fearing he might go astray. They found him a job stoking boilers in a government office. I was quite shocked to hear this. In his previous life, Jong Yangjing had made a name for himself in Shenzhen and was considered a successful entrepreneur who could turn stones into gold. I never expected his life to turn out like this. How did he end up working as a boiler operator? What else could a high school graduate and lagging educated youth do after returning? He was always half a step behind in picking up new knowledge and culture, and his wife keeps a tight rein on him. Only 5 yuan a month for pocket money. My friend shook his head. What else could he do besides operating a boiler? The next time I received a call from Jong Yangjing was 3 months later. He seemed to be drunk, slurring his words as he called me wife. You've got the wrong number. I was just about to hang up when he called out my name, Luna. Then she started sobbing. Luna, I had a dream. In the dream, I married you, but I was always finding fault with you, and in the end, I actually forced you to divorce and married by Mengya instead. Sob. Unexpectedly, he actually remembered what happened in his previous life. But how could I admit it? You're drunk. Stop talking nonsense. I'm not drunk. Luna, we have a son and a daughter. It's my fault for not raising them properly, letting them acknowledge by Mengya as their mother in the end. You are clearly their real mother. Jong Yangjing, have you been drinking again? You useless man. What else can you do besides drinking? A shrill female voice rang out, filled with contempt and anger, because she started speaking in the Shanghai dialect afterward. I couldn't really understand her. I sighed and hung up the phone. Troy Chen came back, and the child, overjoyed to see his father, rushed up to him. While holding the child, he handed me the pink paper package. I just bought a piece of cloud slice cake, freshly made. Try it quickly. I opened it and took a bite. It was indeed sweet and delicious. Just like my happy life now.